There comes a moment in every person's life, a sacred moment, when they are called not to wish, not to wonder, not to worry, but to act. That moment is now. You see, the world does not reward the thinker unless thought becomes action. It does not reward the dreamer unless the dream is pursued, and it does not reward the believer unless belief becomes behavior. Action is the bridge between where you are and where you wish to be. You have goals, you have desires. But unless you act, those desires rot. They ferment. They decay in the basement of your mind, whispering, "What could have been something?" While you scroll, while you delay, while you distract yourself into quiet failure. You must force yourself to take action, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. The person who waits for motivation waits forever. The person who acts despite fear creates motivation. The secret, you do not wait to feel ready. You begin and readiness will catch up. Success never bows to hesitation. It rewards movement. And when you take that first uncomfortable step, a divine power begins to stir. New doors open. A shift occurs in the universe. Life responds to those who move. But here's the truth that no one likes to admit: action feels hard. At first, you will not feel like doing it. You will feel resistance. That's normal. That's necessary, because action, true action, requires that you betray your excuses. You must override your emotions. Not eliminate them, override them. Discipline is doing what must be done, even when you feel like doing something else, especially then. There is power in starting. There is power in doing something, anything that moves the needle forward. Even a small step is sacred if taken with intention. Imperfect action beats perfect inaction every single time. And the truth is, every second you delay, you train your mind to become passive. Every second you wait, you empower fear. But when you act boldly, consistently, even clumsily, you train your mind to become a weapon of change. Don't wait for the stars to align. Don't wait for support. Don't wait for permission. The version of you that's on the other side of action, that powerful, confident, wealthy, purposeful self, is waiting for you to begin. But that version is only revealed to those who move. So rise, shake off the dust of hesitation. Destroy the lie that says, now is not the time. The time is now. The time has always been now. Take one step, no matter how small, one call, one rep, one decision. Because the act of acting will change your life more than years of overthinking ever could. And remember, your destiny is not revealed to the comfortable. It is revealed to the courageous. You can wish, hope, dream, visualize, and even pray for the life you want. But if you do not take action, your desire becomes nothing more than a comforting illusion. It becomes a soft lie you tell yourself to feel like you're progressing, when in truth, you're standing still. Desire is powerful. Yes, it is the seed of achievement. But a seed alone doesn't grow just because you look at it, or think about it, or talk about it to others. It only grows when it's planted, watered, and exposed to the elements. That process is called action, and without it, your desire is dead before it ever had a chance to live. Far too many people live in the fantasy of someday. Someday they'll start. Someday they'll change. Someday they'll be the person they dream of. But someday is not a day on the calendar. It's a trap. And desire without action is the bait. It makes you feel like you're doing something when you're really doing nothing. You must become brutally honest with yourself. Are you desiring or are you doing? Desire is meant to be the spark, not the fire. You light the flame by what you do daily. You build momentum by taking uncomfortable steps. You move forward not by wishing harder, but by working smarter and acting consistently. Talk alone changes nothing. Intentions alone shift nothing. What transforms your reality is decision backed by disciplined movement. You don't need to have it all figured out to take action. You only need to start. Even the smallest act toward your goal turns invisible desire into visible progress. And here's what most don't realize. The longer you sit on your desire without acting, the more that energy turns into frustration, regret, and inner tension. It starts to eat away at your confidence. But the moment you take even a single step, that same energy becomes fuel. You can read all the books, listen to every motivational video, Write down goals on paper and say affirmations in the mirror. But if you do not move, nothing changes. No one is coming to make you act. No one is coming to push you. It must come from within. You must look in the mirror and say, "This dream is mine, and so is the responsibility to make it real." If you truly want what you say you want, then let your behavior prove it. Because desire without action is not ambition. It is avoidance dressed as hope. And that's not who you are. You were born to move, to build. And now is your moment. Take the first step. Turn desire into destiny. Everything in life begins with motion. The smallest action, the tiniest movement in the direction of your goal creates a shift not just in your external reality, but deep within your mind and spirit. You don't wait for momentum to show up fully formed. You create it. You initiate it. The moment you move, even if you're uncertain, even if you feel unprepared, something powerful begins to stir. That first action generates energy, and that energy begins to build on itself. The hardest part is starting, not because you're incapable, but because your mind is used to comfort and hesitation. But once you push past that barrier and take one deliberate step, your psychology begins to change. You stop asking, "Can I do this?" and start seeing, "I am doing this." Momentum is a natural law. Objects in motion tend to stay in motion. And the same applies to your mindset, your habits, your progress. The longer you sit still, the harder it becomes to move. But the moment you act, even in a small way, you break inertia. You disrupt the pattern of delay. And that disruption is the birthplace of all achievement. You don't need to leap massive distances at once. You simply need to take the first small step and let that step carry you forward into the next. Each movement becomes easier because action compounds. Motivation is not something you wait for. It is something you generate by doing. When you act, clarity replaces confusion. Courage replaces fear. Progress replaces procrastination. You no longer think about 10,000 reasons why you can't. You're too focused on what you're doing. That's the gift of momentum. It silences self-doubt through experience. It shuts down the internal noise that says later. Because you're too busy moving now. What stops most people isn't lack of talent or lack of time, it's lack of motion. They wait for the perfect plan, the perfect mood, the perfect opportunity. But perfection is a myth. Momentum doesn't require perfection, it only requires participation. When you move even in uncertainty, the path begins to reveal itself. When you act, the next action becomes clearer. And with each step, you feel stronger, more focused, more capable. You are not stuck. You're simply not moving. And the solution isn't more thought, it's more action. The cure to hesitation is movement. The solution to doubt is doing. Motion breeds confidence, creativity, and clarity. All the things you think you need to start, but in truth, only come once you begin. Growth never comes wrapped in comfort. It comes in the form of pressure, resistance, and challenge. The very thing most people try to avoid, discomfort, is the exact space where transformation happens. The truth is, nothing meaningful in life is achieved without stretching beyond the familiar. The mind craves safety. The body seeks ease. But your spirit, your potential, your destiny, they demand discomfort. Because discomfort is the proving ground. It is the test that separates the wishful from the willing. When you feel discomfort, when you're uncertain, afraid, awkward, or stretched beyond what you think you can handle, that's not a sign to retreat. It's a sign to lean in. That's your growth zone. That's where the magic is. Most people confuse discomfort with danger, but the two are not the same. Danger is life-threatening. Discomfort is life-changing. One shrinks you, the other strengthens you. But you must learn to recognize the difference. Discomfort is what builds discipline because you don't feel like showing up, but you do it anyway. It builds confidence because you don't know if you can succeed, but you try anyway. It builds character because even when things get heavy and inconvenient, you don't quit, you persist. That's growth. That's real strength. If you always stay where it feels good, where it feels easy, you don't grow. You repeat. And repetition without challenge breeds stagnation. It's easy to stay in routines that don't demand more from you. It's easy to surround yourself with people who don't challenge your thinking. It's easy to live each day without pushing limits. But that's not how legacies are built. That's not how breakthroughs happen. You must train yourself to do what is uncomfortable until it becomes natural. At first, discomfort feels like resistance, but over time it becomes a signal that you're moving forward, a signal that you are stepping into higher levels of yourself. Think about it. The first workout hurts. The first speech is scary. The first business call is uncomfortable. But those firsts are required. They're the gate you must pass through to reach mastery. The great paradox is this: the more comfortable you become with discomfort, the more unstoppable you become in life. Because now, fear doesn't paralyze you, it fuels you. Uncertainty doesn't shut you down, it awakens your creativity. Failure doesn't destroy you, it educates you. You begin to see pain not as punishment, but as preparation. You are not meant to live soft. You are not meant to avoid pressure. You are meant to evolve mentally, emotionally, spiritually. But evolution never comes from staying in one place. It comes from climbing, from lifting, from stepping into the fire and learning how to walk through it. Your emotions are real, but they are not always right. They are fleeting, ever-changing, and often unreliable guides when it comes to building a life of purpose, vision, and long-term success. That's why discipline must stand taller than emotion. You cannot build anything lasting if you only move when you feel like it. You cannot depend on motivation because motivation is inconsistent. Some days you'll feel inspired, other days you'll feel tired, discouraged, or doubtful. If you surrender to those moods, you give up your power. But when discipline takes the lead, you move regardless of how you feel, and that is the foundation of greatness. Discipline is the force that separates the committed from the curious. It says, I will show up even when I'm tired. It says, I will do what needs to be done, even when I'm not in the mood. It trains your mind to obey your decisions rather than your feelings. And this is the great shift that must occur in your thinking. Your emotions are temporary, but your purpose is not. You are not your mood. You are not your doubt. You are not your fear. You are the one who can choose despite them. Discipline creates structure. It creates rhythm. It builds the habits that move you forward even when life is chaotic. You can't control every outcome, but you can control your actions. And that is where your power lies. People who rely on emotion to decide whether to work, study, build, or train will always fall behind, because emotions fluctuate like the wind. But discipline is the anchor. It holds you steady in the storm. There will be moments when everything inside you says, take a break, sleep in, quit. That's when discipline must speak louder. That's when your higher self must take control and say, I made a promise to my future, and I will not break it. Success doesn't require you to feel perfect every day. It requires you to be consistent in your actions, especially on the hard days. Discipline is not about being harsh with yourself. It's about honoring your potential. It's about keeping your word to yourself. It's about showing up for your goals the way you would for someone you deeply respect. Because when you let your emotions run your life, you betray your higher self. But when you lead with discipline, you build trust with yourself. You strengthen your identity. You become someone who follows through, no matter what. And the beautiful thing is, discipline eventually rewires your emotions. The more you act with discipline, the more your feelings begin to align with your actions. You start to feel good because you did what was right, not because it was easy, but because it was meaningful. So don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait to feel motivated. Don't wait for the perfect energy or mood. Act because it matters. Move because it aligns with your purpose. Build the habit of doing what must be done, and you'll discover a power that few ever experience. A life guided by discipline is not a life of restriction. It's a life of freedom. Because once you master yourself, nothing else can master you. Perfection is the greatest lie that keeps people stuck. It whispers, wait until it's better. Wait until you're ready. Wait until it's flawless. And while you wait, your goals collect dust. Your ideas die in notebooks. Your potential remains buried beneath hesitation. You must understand that action, even imperfect action, will always outrun perfection, because action moves you forward. Perfection only paralyzes. The pursuit of flawlessness often becomes an excuse, a comfortable place to hide from the fear of failure, judgment, or not being enough. But here's the truth: no one starts perfect. No book was written perfectly on the first draft. No business launched without mistakes. No speaker gave a flawless first speech. Every expert was once a beginner who acted before they felt fully prepared. They stumbled, they corrected, they improved, not through overthinking, but through doing. You can't refine what doesn't exist. You can't fix what you haven't built. Clarity comes through action, not through endless planning. When you move, when you take that first step, whether it's messy, awkward, or uncertain, you gain feedback, you learn, you adjust, you grow. But when you stay stuck trying to perfect your plan, your product, or your path, you lose time. And time is the one thing you never get back. The most successful people are not the most perfect. They are the most persistent. They take action, review their results, and take more action. The need for perfection is often rooted in fear. Fear of judgment, fear of embarrassment, fear of failure. But those fears only shrink when you face them head on. When you choose progress over perfection, you begin to realize something powerful. Done is better than perfect. Momentum is more valuable than mastery, because mastery is born from momentum. You don't need the perfect words to speak your truth. You don't need the perfect plan to start building your dream. You don't need the perfect timing to make a decision. What you need is courage. What you need is the willingness to look foolish, to make mistakes, to not have it all figured out, and to act anyway. Every great achievement you admire began as an imperfect step. Every powerful voice you hear once trembled. Every confident leader you follow once doubted themselves. But they acted, they moved. They executed in the face of uncertainty, and that's what made the difference. So if you're waiting for perfection, let this be the wake up calls. The world doesn't need your perfection. It needs your effort, your heart, your willingness to show up. The longer you wait for everything to be just right, the more opportunities pass you by. And one day, you'll realize that perfect never came. But you could have made progress all along. Your destiny is not waiting in the clouds. It's waiting in the decision you keep postponing. It's hiding behind the actions you refuse to take. Destiny does not respond to intention alone. It responds to movement, to discipline, to obedience, to action. You were not created to drift. You were not designed to stand still, full of untapped potential, talking about what could be. You were born to move with purpose, to answer the inner call that keeps urging you to rise. And that call will not be silenced with more thinking. It can only be satisfied through action. Every vision, every goal, every dream you hold in your heart comes with a demand. And that demand is obedience, not to your comfort, not to your fear, not to your excuses, but to the actions that align with the future you say you want. If you want the rewards of success, you must submit to the requirements of it. This is the truth many avoid. They want the outcome without the process. They want the crown without the climb. But destiny does not bend for wishful thinking. It bows only to those who honor it with relentless effort. There is a version of you, stronger, wiser, wealthier, more focused, that already exists in the realm of possibility. But that version will never be revealed unless you act in accordance with it. Talk won't unlock it. Desire alone won't activate it. Only action opens the gates. Action proves your readiness. It is your proof of faith, your declaration of belief, your commitment to becoming who you were meant to be. Your destiny watches not what you say, but what you do. When you disobey that call to action, when you choose delay, distraction, or doubt, you're not just postponing results. You're postponing your evolution. Every time you ignore that nudge to act, you teach your mind to settle. And a mind trained to settle becomes the enemy of greatness. But when you obey the call to move, even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, you become unstoppable. You gain clarity. You gain strength. You align yourself with a force greater than fear. You will never feel 100% ready. There will always be a reason to wait, but destiny doesn't require you to be perfect. It only requires that you be faithful, faithful to the vision, faithful to the grind, faithful to the voice inside that keeps whispering, "There's more in you." The question is, will you answer? Will you obey that voice? Or will you keep pushing it down, hoping your dream will somehow arrive without your participation? The life you want is possible. The person you want to become is real. But it's not free. It costs something. It costs your comfort. It costs your excuses. It costs your willingness to act even when you don't feel like it. Obedience to action is not a one-time decision. It's a daily commitment. You rise and act again and again until destiny has no choice but to reveal itself. You are not waiting on life. Life is waiting on you. Now is the moment to stop negotiating with fear, to stop flirting with delay, and to take bold, consistent action. Because your destiny is watching, and it will only reveal itself to the one who dares to obey. In the end, it all comes down to one truth: nothing changes until you act. You can hold the greatest vision, carry the deepest desire, and repeat the most powerful affirmations. But without action, they remain lifeless. This life you dream of, the strength you seek, the success you crave, it is already within reach. But you must move toward it. You must rise above excuses, override emotions, walk through discomfort, and choose discipline over delay. You were not born to sit on potential. You were born to activate it. You were not meant to chase perfection. You were meant to pursue progress. Stop waiting. Stop hesitating. Stop giving your future away to fear. Your destiny belongs to the version of you that is willing to obey the call to act. Every day, in every way, especially when it's hardest. So let this moment be your turning point. Let this message be the fire that awakens your focus and reignites your drive. Force yourself to take action, not tomorrow, but now. And as you move, may you unlock levels of strength, clarity, and purpose that you never imagined possible. Because your future is not a matter of chance, it's a matter of choice. And today you choose to act. Now go, your destiny is waiting.